The NBA has officially released the names of the 12 refs that are going to be refereeing the NBA Finals this year between the Dallas Mavericks and the Boston Celtics. Now, every ref, whether they admit it or not, or whether they know it or not, has a bias between teams. You can find the stats of every game that they've refed between teams based on their points per game, their win percentage, that type of thing on Basketball Reference for every single ref that has ever refed since I believe the late 90s. That is more than enough data, and all of these refs have refed with this data available, meaning we can go ahead and look at how well or how poorly the Dallas Mavericks and the Boston Celtics have done with these referees for their games. This can help us see if there's any biases and help us make predictions for how this NBA Finals is going to go. Now, I personally have already made my finals prediction. I have a video up going through it already, so this will not change my prediction. No matter what, I still have Mavs in 7, and I made that video before I did the research for this video. So, not going to change my prediction based off of what we do here, but this may help you change yours. So, for context, all of these refs have been active for the last 10 years. So, over the last 10 years, the Boston Celtics have won 62.6% of their games, which is the second highest in the league, and the Mavs have won 50.7% of their games, which is the 11th highest. Now, not everyone has refed just for the last 10 years. Some of these guys have been around for much longer than that, so their numbers don't necessarily completely reflect the last 10 years, but it'll give us a nice baseline to see where they are at over the course of their career and see what we can get out of their numbers for prediction. Hi, editing me here. So I gave you a bunch of numbers and I didn't do a very good job of clarifying what some of them mean. So I kept track of how many games they refed for each team. That's the first number that I say. Then I say the team's overall record, win-loss record for each referee. Then the win percentage. Those are pretty much just the same thing. And then I say what they are ranked in the NBA based off of every team's winning percentage for that individual ref. So when I say, for example, like the Celtics are, say, like the 12th highest for that referee, I'm saying that that is the 12th highest win percentage that an NBA team has when they have that referee on the floor. So it's not comparing it to the NBA, like their win percentage over the last 10 years. It's comparing it to that referee's win percentages for each team. Just figured I'd come on and clarify that because I didn't do a very good job of clarifying it when I recorded it the first time. So, starting off with Tony Brothers, who's going to be refereeing in his 13th NBA Finals. He's refed 117 Celtics games. They have a 66-51 record, which is a 56.4 win percentage and is the 8th highest of teams that he has refereed. As for the Maverick, he has refereed 130 of their games. They have a 75-55 record, which is a 57.7 win percentage and is the 7th highest of teams he has refed. So the Celtics with Tony Brothers have a lower win percentage and the Mavericks have a higher win percentage than their relative win percentage over the last 10 years. Moving on to James Cappers. He's refereeing in his 12th finals. He's refereed 113 Celtics games. They have a 55-58 record. That's a 48.7 win percentage, the 17th highest of all teams refereed by Cappers. As for the Mavericks, he has been a ref for 118 of their games. They have a 73-45 record, a 61.9 win percentage, which is the 3rd highest of teams he's refereed. You can see a big difference between those two teams for James Cappers. That's something to look out for. Moving on, Mark Davis is going to be refereeing in his 13th NBA Finals. He's refereed 111 Celtics games. They have a 55-56 record. That is 49.5% win percentage, and they are the 16th highest. Comparing that to the Mavericks, who has refereed 95 of their games, they have a 57-38 record. That's a 60% win percentage, and that is the highest win percentage of any team that Mark Davis has refereed. Again, another referee with a big difference. And the Mavericks and Celtics also have massive differences in their win percentages with Mark Davis compared to their relative win percentage over the last 10 years. Moving on to everyone's favorite, Scott Foster. The Celtics have had him for a referee in 133 games. They have a 73-60 win percentage. That's 54.9% of the games that they win. It means they win 54.9% of their games. With Scott Foster as the ref, that is the 7th highest of all teams. The Mavericks have had him for 145 games, a 73-72 record, 50.3% win percentage, and that is the 15th highest in the league. I mean, they're literally middle of the pack with Scott Foster as the referee. However, that is very close to their true win percentage over the last 10 years. Moving on to John Goebel, who is refereeing in his 8th NBA Finals. The Celtics have had him for just 66 games, but they have a 40-26 record. That's a 60.6 win percentage, and that is the 3rd highest of all teams in the league. As for the Mavericks, they've had him for 80 games. They have a 48-32 record, a 60% win percentage, and the 4th highest of all teams. So the Mavericks once again getting a massive boost compared to their relative success over the last 10 years, and the Celtics are relatively close to where they are over the last 10 years. Now for David Guthrie, who is refereeing in his 7th NBA Finals. The Celtics have had him for 79 games and have a 45-34 record. That's a 57% win percentage, and that is the 4th highest. The Mavericks have had him for 84 games. That's a 55-29 record with a 65.5 win percentage. That is the highest of all teams in the league. That is a massive jump from their 50% win percentage over the last 10 years, a 15% jump in win percentage with David Guthrie refereeing. Moving on to Bill Kennedy, who is refereeing in his 6th NBA Finals. The Celtics have had him for 85 games. They have a 46-39 record. That is a 54.1% win percentage, the 11th highest in the league. The Mavericks have had him for 107 games. They have a 58-49 record with a 54.2% win percentage. That is the 10th highest overall. So the Mavericks a little bit higher than they are relative to their win percentage over the last 10 years, and the Celtics once again taking a massive dip. Moving on to Courtney Kirkland. This is his 4th NBA Finals that he will be refereeing. The Celtics have had him for 90 games with a 55-35 win percentage. That is 61.1% win percentage, the 2nd highest in the league. The Mavericks have had him for 88 games. That's a 50-38 record with a 56.8 win percentage, the 5th highest in the league. So the Mavericks a little bit overinflated, but outside that, relatively close to their true win percentages over the last 10 years. Kevin Scott, in just his 2nd NBA Finals, making an appearance here. He's had the Celtics for 51 games. They have a 28-23 record. There's a 54.9 win percentage, the 13th highest. The Mavericks have had him for 52 games, and they have a 50% win percentage, 26-26, the 15th highest, which makes sense. Pretty much spot on the Mavericks relative to their last 10 years, but the Celtics relatively lower than their win percentage over the last 10 years, but I mean 6% isn't necessarily terrible. Moving on, we have Josh Tiven. He's in his 5th NBA Finals. He's had the Celtics for 59 games, and they have a 35-24 record, a 59.3% win percentage. That is the 4th highest. And the Mavericks have had him for 58 games, a 34-24 record, and a 58.6% win percentage, the 5th highest. Moving on, we have James Williams in his 4th NBA Finals. He's at the Celtics for 55 games with a 34-21 record. That's a 61.8% win percentage, the 3rd highest. And the Mavericks have had him for 54 games, a 24-30 record. That's a 44.4 win percentage, the 24th highest of all teams. They are a bottom feeder with James Williams as their referee. That is something to watch out for. The Mavs could struggle with James Williams as their ref. Finally, we have Zach Zarba, who's going to be reffing in his 11th NBA Finals. He's had the Celtics for 97 games with a 55-42 record, 56.7 win percentage, and that is the 7th highest among all NBA teams. And the Mavericks have had him for 81 games. That's a 45-36 record with a 55.6 win percentage, the 9th highest. So the Mavericks, once again, a little bit higher, and the Celtics a little bit lower. So this is just purely numbers. This is not looking at if these referees have issues with players. I know Luka gets into a lot of arguments with a lot of refs. I didn't go back and track down if these guys have personal things with a lot of these players. This is strictly just the numbers behind the referees. So we saw the Mavericks are a little overinflated by a lot of these referees. We see the Celtics are a little bit underinflated by these referees. that could play a role, that could not. This is something that could be helpful to use maybe if you're betting and you see the crews use this information how you want, or maybe if you're just trying to make predictions on the internet or look smart on the internet, this is something that you could use. All this is a tool. At the end of the day, they still have to go out and play the basketball games, and the refs shouldn't have that much of a bias in the games, and it should just come down to how the players play. But let me know your thoughts, and let me know if you think any of these refs will end up making a difference and make some calls that could affect the outcome of this NBA Finals. Other than that, I'm out. Peace.